I asked Roxana what is her experience, because I think that when you are outsourcing, you are sort of doing startup all the time, because you have money in, money out. You have some projects now, and you still need to find some other projects in the future. You don't have your own product that you can monetize by selling it. So it's a pleasure to introduce Roxana.
Thanks for inviting me tonight. I've been an entrepreneur for 4 years, but our company is on the market for 6 years. So I decided to name my presentation 6 lessons that I've learned in the 6 years about cash. And as Stefan said, there's a difference between product business models and outsourcing business models, but the cash problem generally is sort of the same. So cash runs sort of the same no matter how your business is. And I can tell you now, after some experiences on the Romanian market, but I suppose also is the same on other markets, that cash is probably the number 2 most important thing in your company after your team, or at least that's how I see it. It can become number 1, but so the idea is that yes, every new project that we have, it's sort of like a lean startup. Basically, the connection is more that our clients try to start their project as a lean startup. So we need to help them to do that. So for that, you need to have processes of how to communicate with them, of how to improve what you're already developing for them, and adapt in time. So and also the lean methodology can be applied in the business itself, in which I recommend, and we did, that it's important to have procedures in place and to have everything figured out from the beginning when you start the business, but it's more important to start and then to adjust. So in this way, this is also something in startup. All your internal processes can be adapted in time, all your whatever you do and how you organize yourself, you adapt it in time, following the feedback from your clients. Now coming back to cash, so we're an agency, we do web development and web design and online promoting for some of our clients. And as some really smart guys from the US say, Cashflow is the blood of your business, and that's true. And it's dependent on, it has 2 main characteristics. First of all, the timing of when you get cash in your company and when you pay your cash from your company is really important, and the fact that it's constantly moving. So if you look at a company 1 month, the situation will be probably very different the next month, and so on. And the ideal is to be able to sort of predict how it's going to evolve. Now, it's easy to, so the most expensive money, some other researchers say, is your own money. But with your own money, it's easier to make experiments. The challenge is when you have to work with some other people's money, and then you have to manage cash flow good in order for them to be satisfied with what you give them. Now, I was in a training a couple of years ago, and somebody said that cash flow is more important than your mother. Now, for me, it was quite interesting as a perspective, but from a business point of view, I think they're right. I think, well, as I said before, after your team, cash flow is the most important thing that can keep your business running. Okay, maybe it's stuck. The idea is that in companies, reality and accounting are very different scenarios. For me, accounting is like a beautiful queen. It's like Princess Aurora here, for example. We have profits every end of year. My accounting looks perfect, like 20% profit, 40% profit. Well, I think 40 was the max. But in reality, cash flow looks more like Maleficent, and the idea is that in some months you might find yourself in an impossibility to pay somebody, your employees, the state, your suppliers, anyway. So what I learned in this period is that profit is not that important. More important is what you have in your bank account now and how you can turn those beautiful profit on paper in earnings. Now, most businesses fail because they don't correlate this. They're very profitable on paper, but actually they don't have money to run from one month to another month and so on. So what I think is most important is to plan for your cash. Now, in order to do that, for us what we found, and I think it's really important also if you're a startup or if you're already a company, is to set some targets that you want to achieve. For example, what we do is to set a target for each month revenue and to set a target each month for what we want to cash in. And normally they're different because after a period of time, that's why I said you adjust, you start to know that some of your clients pay you a little bit later or some of your clients pay you earlier and so on. So normally the target is very important and you have to look after it. Also, we are struggling to do this, but I strongly recommend, I hear very many specialists saying this, that you should have a cash flow statement. And we did it for a couple of months now, and it's really interesting to see how different is the reality of what you invoice each month from what cash you actually have available. And it was nice to find out some of the flaws, some of the faults that we had in our system and trying to correct them. And the most important thing when planning is also to be disciplined enough to follow your plan, which is hard. Now the idea is that this is an example of cash flow statement. Basically what we're doing is that we're trying to correlate what we're gonna get in our company as money liquid and see how we can spend them better. One important thing that we found out also doing this cash flow statement is that we saw that we were investing in stuff more rapidly than we were collecting money in. So even if on paper we were having a lot of earnings, actually we were spending them quicker than getting them, than obtaining that money. So we tried to correct that. This is one thing that was shocking for me. Also what we want to do and what we are doing, and I recommend, it was very good since we introduced this, is to divide the money that we receive in separate accounts. For example, for us, well, besides the VAT, I try to divide the money that we're getting in 4 accounts and not to take money or to switch money between them. Of course, it's not always working, but normally we're trying to do that. So I keep, for example, 60% of our income for taxes and HR. This means salaries, everything related to people management and the state. 20% I save off for our suppliers, and 10% for investments and 10% for savings. Now, these last two we can combine. If I want to buy something really useful one month, I switch among them. What was really interesting since we started doing this is that we started to have actually money to invest. I mean, to buy new hardware, to invest in marketing, and so on. And also what I think is important, besides planning this type of different types of revenue that you have, is to try to have constant cash in your company. In the IT outsourcing business where we work, this is a little bit difficult if you don't set up a system for monthly payments or some kind of software as a service or whatever type of things you have. But the recurring payments, in our case, even if they're small, they assure some of the expenses that we have and give us some, you know, I can sleep at night because I know I'm going to have something in my bank account tomorrow. Now, how many of you have in mind to correlate what you receive as payments and what you give to your suppliers? Okay. So, this is another, how do you do it, Ricardo?
Sorry?
How do you do this?
Well, we're a tiny company. We basically run based on specific projects. So it's usually very clear what we need to invoice, and since we usually build a project just for we build a team just for the project, then it's also rather clear what we'll need to pay people as we're involved. Mm-hmm. And then we have some fixed costs which are fixed, and we keep this on a money dance, and this allows us projection reporting very easily.
Very nice. What about you?
I have this in head from the previous business experience and from an ex-CFO that had this many about the cash and the fact that all the time you should have later payment terms toward your supplier that when you are cashing it from your customer. So
Yeah, that's basically, it's a simple rule.
Exactly.
It's harder
so,
to put it in practice, but it's simple.
it was like we needed that in order to take on a further improvement, let's say, you know, in this. So,
yeah, so basically this is what we're doing as well as, and I recommend, is that we're trying to negotiate with our clients to build them, for example, in a specific period of the month. Normally we build them from 1 to 10th of the month, and with our suppliers to pay them 10-20 days later than this period, in order to have time to get funds from who we're invoicing to. Now, there are two aspects in your cash life, or in our cash life there are two aspects. There's the money coming in and there's the money going out. Now what I found out is that it's awesome to get the money in as soon as possible and to get the money out as late as possible in order to have a big enough period to play with them and to plan and to do different things for your business. In order to get the money in as soon as possible, what I think is important is to have a close relationship with your clients and also to implement some tricks. For example, or they're not tricks, but anyway, we work with advance payments for our project. This means that for us, it means that our clients are willing to invest a specific amount of money before seeing what we do, so they're committed to the project. Also, we try to, and that's very good for everybody, to invoice as soon as we talked. Because if you invoice now, you'll probably receive money 10, 20, 30 days later, so why postpone this process? Then I found out that following up is really effective, even if it's not that intuitive. So since we started in the beginning to get our money from our clients, we would call them if they would have invoices overdue. We would call them and like, please, can you pay? And basically everybody has an excuse for why they didn't pay. In order to fight this, we started first to implement a system that looked automated, like we would give emails from an email address that is not personal, and you would say, your payment is due, you have 10 more days to pay it in order for services to function properly and so on. This was really interesting because it created to the people the idea that the problem is not us, the problem is not them, it's just the system. The system will shut down if I don't pay. I cannot blame the system. Now, of course, if you think about it, everything that's automated is controllable because you automated it. But it was really interesting to see the psychology of the system. And we also have suppliers to do this to us, and we learn from them. Because they would give us this email, oh look, you're overdue, and I was like, can we extend? No, it's the system, I'm sorry. You cannot control the system. So this is a really good tip that I learned. The system is very, very interesting. Also, what I found out from our domain, we have a small side project to register domain, is that the easiest the payment process is, the more you sell. For us, we would sell domains, and in the beginning we would just give invoices manually and look, here's your invoice, can you pay us? The conversion rate was ridiculously low. Then we automated the invoicing process, and while you were registering the domain, you would automatically get the pro forma invoice to pay. The conversion rate was skyrocketed. I know it was 400% bigger. And then we haven't done it yet, but we want to implement the card payment. I'm sure that would even more increase the conversion rate. So as easiest as you can make the payment processes, the better. Also, we have other, I won't talk about them that much. I rate clients, but this you can do after you have some experience with them, or try to talk with some of their suppliers before contracting with them, to see how good they are payers and how, I don't know, how they work. And I rate them and I know, and it's really important for everybody to know with their clients when they will pay, how they will react, if you can summon them to pay you or not. Some of them are really sensible at these aspects. And also I try to avoid feelings when it comes to payments, because again, the system helps me a lot here. Like, there's no feeling involved, there's just the system. The other part that you can get money from, let's say your creditors, we found out, and I'm sure many of you who have businesses do this as well, that your suppliers can be your biggest creditors. If you if you invest time with them and have good relationship, you can ask them when time comes, to extend some deadline and so on and so forth. So the idea with the suppliers that we're doing is that we never pay them before the, let's say, last 2 days of the deadline, so it's not cool to not pay them. But also, you can have through extended deadlines periods of time in which you can use the cash flow. So why give it away to somebody when it's on you and you can multiply it? Also, we try to group payments. If you have many suppliers, many small suppliers in every corner of the planet, it's really difficult to keep up with all the accounting, with all the payments and so on. So if you have the opportunity, or if you see any type of automating here, or grouping them, or maybe find one supplier that can provide for more services, I find that it's really time, you can save a lot of time by doing this. And even if, for example, maybe you have a bit of a bigger price, maybe the time that you invest, the time that you save is more important than that small price difference. Also, the most important thing, but this I think you already know, so I just put it here, is that people matter. And it's important to have personal relationships with everybody you work with your clients and with your suppliers and with your, well, basically with all your network, in order to be able to get understanding if you need it. And this comes also from your part, so you should be understanding with the people you collaborate with, and if you do that, they will be understanding back. And the second, the second part of what matters is that a good financial advisor is really awesome for cash flows, because it can tell you legal changes that legal stuff that you can apply in order to save money, or I don't know. The idea is that if you can find it, it's awesome. Normally they're really expensive, so what you can do is to try to keep up, read in the morning everything about fiscal changes and state changes and so on, in order to find out ways in which you can economize and increase your cash flow. And one extra thing besides the 6, that I'm not sure it applies necessarily when you build a product, but I think it does. Never rely on one client. This is something that I learned and experienced, and it was really nice. The situation was really funny, in which you had a big client. He was our only client. He was supposed to pay us a shitload of money. We had invoiced those money, so it was a profitable company, but we've never seen this money, not even today. And it caused a chain of events that we hardly got over. So what I wanted to do since then is to never have only one big client that you rely on, and then you have to go and beg for money from him and so on. And just do it. I find in many conferences a lot of people that talk about planning, but those plans never come to life. What I can tell you is that I started like the dumb and dumber. I had no idea how the business works. I did all the mistakes possible, but in time you solve them, and you actually find that you are already implementing some systems that have fancy names and so on, but you didn't know. So basically, do your best and just do it.